Welcome back, everybody. All right, so let's go ahead and let's make another cylindrical ship here. Let's go to triangle fan here, our cylinder, and make sure it says Ngon instead of triangle fan. It should be on Ngon, but just in case it's not, let's scale this along the Z axis, and let's maybe scale this out a bit here. So we got something that looks kind of like a hockey puck, just like that there. Okay, let's tab into edit mode and we'll take a look at this face here. We'll push E to extrude, right click, and we will make something like this here. We're going to push E to extrude again. We're going to scale that in and push E to extrude again, scale it in, and then we can kind of push E to extrude, and we'll push E to extrude and scale that in, something like that. Okay, so we got this nice little thing here. All right, and on the bottom here, we'll do something very similar. We'll push E to extrude, right click, scale that in, extrude, maybe a little bit more, and we'll kind of scale it in, something like that. So we got something that looks cool like that there. Let's hop into 7, or push 7 on the numpad, and that gives us the top view and also gives us the y-axis and x-axis appropriately. And what we'll do from here is we'll take both of these two and we'll kind of move this out like that. All right, we've got to move that down if you really want to. And actually, I think what we'll do is we'll just move that out like that. Push E to extrude like that. E to extrude like this here. So you can see this is looking kind of cool here. And what we'll do on top of that is we will push, so we'll take these two here and push E to extrude, and those are flat even though they don't look kind of flat, and we'll push E to extrude here. Alright, we got this kind of cool thing going on, and we'll push E to extrude. So we got this cool little, something cool like that there. Let's go and let's add in several loop cuts actually. We will add in, first of all, we'll add in a loop cut at the bottom here. Actually, we'll add in 2 loop cuts at the bottom here. And the reason is I always like to give a buffer, because what we're going to do is we're going to give this kind of wings here, and we'll also do 2 up top here, 1. And generally with computers, it doesn't matter what you're doing, but it generally looks good if you it generally looks good if you add a buffer. Okay, and so let's top back up to 7 here, and we haven't added in a mirror modifier yet, so let's go ahead and do that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply box select all of these vertices here, and I'm going to delete these vertices, and I'm just going to keep on box selecting on this half here until we get exactly the amount of vertices we want. And you can see here there's still a bit of vertices here, and there's a bit too many vertices there, so let's go ahead and let's try that again. And we'll just simply box select all of this here, make sure there's none on the other side, and we'll delete those vertices. And I'm pushing 7 on the numpad, by the way, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to delete those vertices, make sure we're getting none on the other side. Okay, push 7 again, push B to box select, I'm going to push X, delete those vertices, maybe zoom in a bit, and there we go. We're going to delete those vertices, and it's kind of a process, but again, just pushing B to box select, vertices, and then vertices. Okay, so I think that's half the ship. Oh, there's a bit more. Let's push 7 again. Yeah, you can see that there's more there. X, delete the vertice, and delete the vertice. Alright, we'll just simply delete those there. And I think that's roughly half of what we want here. Okay, we might have to add in a face at the bottom there, but not to worry. Let's add in a modifier. And of course, this is going to be a mirror modifier, and there we go. And so the reason why we did that and we modeled it that way is we wanted to get half the ship, although we could have, in theory, done that earlier. But for the most part, it works out like that there too. Let's hop into face select mode, and then we'll push these two, and we're going to push E to extrude like this, and we can move this up, and we can move this down, something like that. Looks kind of cool. There we go. And let's see. Let's take a look here. Let's push E to extrude, scale that out, E to extrude, scale that out, and then we can scale this along the Z-axis too. We can scale it along the Z-axis and make this bigger like that. Push E to extrude, and then E to extrude and scale it in. Alright, we'll do the same thing for the bottom here. Push E to extrude again, scale that out, scale that along the Z-axis too. Maybe even move this out just a bit. E to extrude, and then E to extrude, and then scale that in. Alright, so we got this cool little thing going on. Alright, let's hop into, we're going to have to fix that later, and it's actually pretty simple. Let's hop into the edge select mode, and I'll just move these in, move that in like so. Now this is of course a kind of bulky and block-like ship, but at the same time, you want to make sure, and I'll just actually move both of these back. There we go. The reason why, if you want to make this really smooth, you have to add in a ton more vertices. All right, and I can show you how to do that at the end of this tutorial here. But okay, we're gonna just take a look at that. We're just moving the edges, and again, one of the easiest ways to actually make this look really cool is to simply there we go. Is to simply move that in there, and you could probably move that in too, and just gives a whole extra depth. So we can move that back. That looks okay, but I like this better, and we can even move that back too. Something like that. And if we want to, we can move this in or out, but so let's move it in. Alright, so there we go. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Now let's tab into object mode for just a quick second here. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a modifier. We're going to add what we call a subdivision surface modifier. And you can see here that if I get rid of this subdivision, or if I simply click the view to 0. This is what we originally had. And if I add in one more view, you can see that it's adding in a whole bunch more vertices. Although if we tab into edit mode, we don't necessarily see those vertices. And we can add this in as many times as we want. And you can see here that it makes everything look a lot more smooth. Now, this looks a little bit weird up here, and we'd have to probably change that if we were to do this here. But something like this or this might actually work out quite well. So I'm actually just going to close that for just a second here. I'm going to tab into edit mode here, and we're going to actually move this guy back. And what we'll do actually is we will move this guy back and this guy back. We're going to make this just a little bit better. We can almost even do that there. So that's going to look a little bit better if we really wanted to. And let's tab back into object mode, and then if we look at, and we'll add in that subdivision surface modifier, and actually that looks quite a bit better, and maybe something like that would look a little bit cooler. Alright, let's just close that again. We will get into that in just a second here. So I think this is what we're gonna finish at here. Let's go ahead and let's apply that here, and of course you can't do it in edit mode. So tab back in object mode, click apply, and then tab back into edit mode. Make sure you're on edge select, push alt right mouse button, and then we're going to go and add in a face at the top. And if you really want to, you can move it up or down, but I think that's perfectly fine. Alt, same process on the bottom here, and that way everything gets closed off. Now, if we're looking for a very low poly model, this is Perfect. Let's go ahead and add that subdivision surface modifier and maybe just 2 iterations of this, and I think we've got this pretty much pretty well made here. The neck looks a little bit weird, but it does look pretty cool. Now, if we go ahead and click apply, you can see that it adds in way more vertices here. And if you're making a game, this is going to be a lot trickier to work with here, just because these are a lot of vertices. So I'm just going to click undo. All right, I'll see you guys in the next tutorial.